a bunch of follow-up questions there, but I want to start with one of the boxes that you had to check, and that was the people.
Yes.
And in a company such as you're describing, it's a common refrain that the marriage, and I see it getting better. I want your perspective on it. The marriage of computational biology and computational anything, right? Like
Yes.
the tech folks and
Yes.
and the science folks.
Yes.
It's a difficult one to officiate, right? So I've heard, I've heard multiple approaches. I've talked to biotech CEOs who are in this space and in the AI space who've talked about, throwing them in a room together, making sure they're in close proximity and they start speaking the same language as a starting point. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how are you making sure that box, those people are the rare breed that can walk both sides of that line, right? Or at least work together on other sides.
Yeah. So we start with the principle. So we are one company, right? An understand, share vision, values, and so on. And so, having our team on site, we now have 2 sites, right? But certainly together in the same room, talking about the science, but also it works both ways, this communication dialogue. So it's also about the computational biology team sharing what they're doing and our lab-based scientists sharing what they're doing and listening to each other. Those are 2 different silos. But I think you're right in terms of alluding to the different backgrounds and potentially different cultures. If you're in front of the computer doing all your work on the computer every day, if you're a scientist in the lab, the bench, it's almost 2 different languages.
Right.
And I think it's part of my job, part of the leadership team's job, to make sure that we are able to communicate within the company as well and share that knowledge and share that culture together. It's a constant. I think you have to put it on the table and say, look, this could be a challenge, right? So let's A, recognize that, B, think about how we continue to communicate transparently and share information.
Yeah. When you look at the talent pool that's available to you to serve those needs, are you seeing change there in terms of like what academia is putting out? People who are well-versed in both languages, understanding the value of computational, coming out of the science side and vice versa. Like, do you, when the concept began, there really wasn't, I'm assuming, in academia, an academic path toward being a computational biologist.
Yes. So I think what we're seeing now, my strong sense is we're actually seeing folks on the comp biology side moving into their second or third roles in industry. So we're seeing people join earlier stage companies, bringing more experience now from within industry, together with the academic track as well, both kind of roles. And so I think there's a very interesting maturation of the talent pool happening right now very quickly. And I think some of that is being accelerated as well by a number of the sort of company turnovers, right, and changes that we've seen in the sector over the last year. So that's also happening in the comp biology side as well. And then I think that's helping, right? In terms of how we recruit and think about talent and developing people.
Yeah. Another common refrain around AI and ML is that, there are obvious benefits and applications happening in terms of speed of discovery and speed of design efficiency. But a question that comes up often in my conversation is what the next application for these technologies is when you enter the clinic. Because that's where the expenses mount. That's where, that's where failure happens quickly. Sometimes not so quickly. Failure happens after a lot of money's invested. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like where a company like Ampersand, as it continues out sort of the clinical continuum, where it might be able to leverage some of these technologies to improve efficiencies beyond discovery and design?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of areas. It's a great question, and I do think it's a very important question for us as an industry. Going back to that 90% failure rate number. Right?
Yeah.
So how do we take clinical data and early translational medicine data and feedback into our platforms? The use of data, almost like a continuum of our lab-based data. How can we learn quickly from our medicines, right, early in the clinic versus late in development. And so I actually see a natural opportunity to start applying this our tech platform and understand our machine learning with more molecules in the clinic. And we definitely intend to do that. I mean, I know within the flagship ecosystem that pioneering intelligence, which is like the central AI machine learning team within flagship and across flagship, that is a huge area. The announcement this week with the Samsung partnership flagship, there's some of that element within that partnership and clinical trials.
Yeah. Can you share anything in terms of like what a pipeline development plan might look like?
Right. Yeah. So that is very exciting. So as I mentioned, building out the platform first, and then we have a bona fide platform, and then we have projects at Ampersand ongoing. We have around a dozen active projects right now across different diseases. What I will tell you, first of all, is all of those projects have big impact value propositions clinically. So we've really directed the platform early on. Hard problems. Not easy, small step changes, modifying a molecule safety, but can we improve both potency and safety at the same time? And then molecules that have failed, right? Or molecules that aren't new drugs that are not being used in a broader patient population as possible. So I will say at this point, we are seeing some really nice data in autoimmune diseases, immuno-oncology. Can we target tumors more effectively? Avoiding side effects of some very powerful mechanisms. So we're seeing some very nice data there. So we'll talk more about the portfolio as it evolves, but we think about it from our own core portfolio, and then also what we do with partnerships. There are some areas, disease areas, where it would be incredibly synergistic to apply the Ampersand platform and for Ampersand to develop into those areas with a partner that brings that expertise, potentially brings drugs that they want to optimize and send to the right place. So it'd be using natural areas of overlapping interest. We're already having some partnership discussions during this week at JP Morgan.
Yeah,
as part of our meeting next. So it seems a lot more to come on.
A platform company has all sorts of optionality in terms of partnerships, exits, mergers. Optionality is like the name of the game. Do you run sort of as obviously you're in early, but looking forward, are you running kind of fast and loose and looking for opportunities like wherever they might present themselves, or do you have some sort of an idea like, this is a platform that we could outsource, or this is a platform that we could handily stick around forever, spinning off products that we then sell, or is it opportunity presents itself when you realize it when you see it?
Yeah. So you spend a lot of time thinking about partnerships, and initial partnerships, early partnerships for a platform company are very important. First of all, because they have the opportunity to validate a platform, and then second is to build out projects and programs that potentially wouldn't do there are capitalist company. So we spend a lot of time planning through scenarios, how they could look, so that we are, I would say, ready and prepared for opportunities, right? Versus being loose and unprepared.
I say fact. I should have known the response I was going to get to that.
Okay, but it's but maximizing optionality is important. I would say there's no type of partnership, there's no type of deal structure or therapeutic area that we would not consider, because platforms are broad without percent. The question is really, in terms of quantity and quality, what we decide to do internally, and that makes sense.
Is there all indicators, not all indicators, but many indicators are kind of pointing to a return of the markets, right? Like things are starting to look better. In a situation like yours, when you're, looking for and open to early deals, early platform deals, is there a more ideal sort of market condition for that kind of thing and a less ideal market condition? Like, would it be a scenario where you might go, you know what, like we're ready, but we could probably strike some better deals if it's 6 months from now and some of these indicators like inflation and, the merger M&A markets continue to look good and deals are looking better. We're gonna kind of hold our cards a little bit.
Right.
Is that a fair question to ask?
Well, I think it's important. I mean, I think that I look at it a different way, Matt, which is, what do you control and what do you not control? So we don't control the macro forces, things that are in the market. Inflation is all we do control that percent. So you think about these potential partnerships, since when and how and how they approach. So that's why I think it's important. But I would like to take a step back because as we think about this platform, you must be following, I've seen the explosion of antibody drug conjugate partnerships, approvals, M&A, acquisition. Antibody drug conjugates are really the core, the starting point of what we do at Ampersand, except we're not just working in tumors using 3 classes of payloads, toxic payloads, and 11 tumor targets. We're actually able to deliver different types of molecules, active drugs to multiple tissues, right? So this is like the next generation of antibody drug conjugates. So this whole concept of targeting drugs to the right places where they're needed, we see ADC as being a proof principle of that, but in a very small target space, 11 targets. So we have close to 700 targets across different tissues. Yeah, that we drugs for. So when you think about, the weight of interest in ADCs, the types of market conditions, I find that very interesting from a micro sector perspective within biotech. That obviously is very different from the macro forces. I think we could talk about IRA, pressure, carbon cliffs, and so on in the industry at writ large, and how innovation, true, high quality science and like patient impact with platform companies are incredibly powerful.